pioneering surf parks took 10 years to go from pipe dream to paying customers. 10 years! How can digging a hole, filling it with water, agitating that water, and asking people for money be so incredibly complicated? Today's wave pool projects get done on a much shorter timeline, thanks to lessons learned from those early adopters in the space. In Wave Pool Mag sessions, we hear from the brightest minds in the business. Everything's on the table topic-wise, from choosing a tech provider to maximizing food and beverage revenue, and more. So join us for Wave Pool Mag sessions. Welcome to Wave Pool Mag Friday sessions. I'm your host, Brian Dickerson, and today we're doing something a little different, a little more fun. We are speaking to wave pool user experts to find out about their experiences at different pools around the world, and also how that impacts their daily surfing life. Everyone's got a different experience. Everyone has different needs and wants from surfing. So we're going to jump right in with that. First off, my guests are Sunshine Makarow and Naradah from Waco Surf is his local spot, lives in Houston. And then Mike Goldys, who is from Florida and has been to several wave pools around the world. So just say hello, introduce yourselves really quickly. Sunshine, let's start with you.
Hey, Brian. Yeah, great. Sunshine from California. So far, I've been, I think we're going to get into it, to Kelly's Pool, as well as Waco, and way back in the day, Typhoon Lagoon. Hoping to get to one of the urban surf centers pretty soon here, but not so far yet. And I'm down in the San Diego area, but lived all up and down the California coast.
Hey, my name is Naradah. Born and raised in Houston, Texas. Love surfing Texas coast, all up and down. I've surfed the Waco surf pool, obviously, one of my favorite home breaks, as I call it, my home break number 2, as well as the now defunct inland surf park that was in Austin. That was I think that was one of the first surf parks in North America. I've also been to Wadi Adventure over in the UAE. Near Abu Dhabi. It's kind of like halfway between Abu Dhabi and Dubai. And hope to be more like Mike and surf all over the place. But yeah, glad to be here. Thanks for having me, Brian.
Thanks for joining us. And Mike, you can share with us your wave pool experience, but you're going to have to speak quickly because I believe there's a whole lot on that list.
Sure. Yeah. First, Naradah, if you're, I would recommend trying to chase the same goal I am, else you're going to be broke. It's a long journey. But Mike here, I was born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland, which is part of the reason why I'm so obsessed with wave pools. But that's a whole other story. To date, I surfed 18 different wave pools. It's across 20 cities in 8 different countries. It's my own personal goal, unsponsored, work full-time for a living and save up to do this on the side because I'm super passionate about these artificial waves. I would call my local pool break Typhoon Lagoon now that I live in Florida. So I do frequent that wave pool once, twice, maybe 3 times a year, but still primarily surfing in the ocean for financial reasons. So
that's okay.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, let's get into it and start with the gold standard of wave pool experiences, the Kelly Slater wave pool. Sunshine, I know you've been there, and Mike, have you made it to Kelly's? You have. Okay. Well, let's hear from both of you as quickly and succinctly as possible. Sunshine, what did you notice about Kelly's?
It's just a first-rate experience. It's kind of like the Ritz-Carlton of wave pools. That's the word, it's experience. Like every little detail is thought out. There's the gate that everyone takes the pictures of, does the video, but then they meet you, they show you around, you get your name on everything, on your locker space, if you're staying in the Airstreams, all done up there. And then it's just that white glove experience in the water where there's the coaches out there that are really nice and helpful and push you into the waves if you need it, but tell you where to line up, where to paddle. Anytime you come in, they're like, yeah, grab me. Let's go review the footage. And, the food's amazing as well. And anytime it's just like anything you want, basically it's there. And the waves are just unreal. Now I was there in the winter, so it was very cold and in Central California as well. So it's like at the first session in the morning and you're walking out, the ground's like crunching, icy. So that was a little intense, but then the waves make it worth it. So that's kind of in a nutshell, my experience there.
Okay, right on. Mike, did you find the same Lux experience at Kelly's?
I mean, it is a once in a lifetime experience. If you were to ask me if it was my favorite wave pool, the answer is no. It's a very high pressure experience for me because of the money it costs to make the trek out there for that day and a half experience. Oh, not only that, but it was really difficult for me even to access it. So accessibility was hard. I had to go through a third-party surf camp based in Southern California and join their exclusive experience, a day and a half experience, which means 4 1-hour sessions at the surf ranch. And then obviously the really nice 3 meals a day and the jacuzzi, the skateboards, your waves being photographed was amazing. But it was a really high pressure environment from my experience. And we only got half waves. So it was a split wave format. So I got half of each wave during that hour. So maybe 6, if I'm lucky, 7 waves in that hour.
Okay. And that's, so we go from this like Lux experience, the ultimate wave pool experience, as a lot of people call it, is I'd like to shift now to like a daily driver pool. Like Mike, you said Typhoon Lagoon's your go-to surf pool. Is that correct?
In terms of proximity, geography.
Okay, so how often do you surf there, and how do you access it? Like, is it you have to book, like you said, through Kelly's, through a special organization, or you just walk up, put your money, and you're in for the session?
Sure. Typhoon Lagoon is a public water park water park attraction. So your really only options are before and after public water park hours, and you can book out the morning session or the evening session. It's 100 waves, roughly over a 3-hour period. And you invite however many or little of your group of friends to join you and split the cost and split the waves.
Mm-hmm.
So it's different than a dedicated surf park. This is a wave pool you can rent before and after hours.
All right. And then going on the theme of local wave pools, Naradah, I want to ask you about, because I met you at Waco. You go to Waco all the time when the Gulf Coast is flat. Share with us about Waco, like your experience there, because I know you've been involved there for years. And then, I mean, how often do you go?
So I go currently maybe about once a month. I used to go as often as maybe like 3 to 4 times a month. But since the Waco opened, I've had I've got a kid now. She's currently 3, but so my time at the pool has been a lot less, juggling work and life and family and things like that. But I just want to kind of set the stage for Waco a little bit. So with my experience at surf parks, like I said, I went to Inland before, and then coming up to Waco, I was there like opening day, had season pass and the whole 9. And I've seen the evolution of the pool, the wave, the staffing, just the maturation of what a surf park could be. And with that said, I've seen it from the nascent stages up until now, where it's more developed. It's a global attraction, and the development has been amazing. The staff has been amazing. And the experience that I have there is always a very community-oriented experience, because, I'm kind of familiar face around there. And it's always a very positive experience, encouraging, and just good all around. The waves are good. Now they have food options. So overall, it's a pretty great experience for me.
Okay. And you mentioned your surf time has been cut into due to the challenges of parenting at the moment.
Yeah, a little bit of everything, a little bit of business, juggling work responsibilities, things like that, navigating travel and customer meetings, things kind of take away from some of the time.
Yeah. So if you didn't have Waco though, would you be surfing at all? Because I'm thinking about the Gulf Coast, and it's not the most consistent space. Is it? You have a wave pool to go to. That's pretty awesome.
Absolutely. So there's a common saying that ain't no surf in Texas, right? That's a common saying on the Texas surf community, but there is in fact the occasional surf here, and it can be pretty darn fun compared to maybe not the top-notch spots in the world, but it's just not as consistent. But the surf can get pretty fun here. So I would surf, probably once every couple of months, or once every couple of weeks, I should say, with the exception of summertime when it's usually flat, unless we get hurricane swells, which we had one last week and we might have another one this week. So the frequency is not as much, but there are opportunities to get in the water here in the Gulf Coast.
Okay, great. So having a local pool obviously gets you on the water more than if you had to rely on the ocean in where you live. Sunshine, there are a lot of pools going on in Southern California. What do you look forward to? What do you see any of the pools either open now or opening in the near future that you could see going to, like as a daily driver or weekly driver, or like Naradah every month, once a month?
Yeah, I'm thinking more like once a month, kind of a feel there. And I mean, Palm Springs has been open, closed, and it's been one of those ones that Izzy, my good friend from Surf Diva, and like every time it opens again, she's texting me like, "Let's go," and we're like trying to book it, and then like it's all booked out. So we're super amped to try that one. It's about a 2-hour drive from where I am, as soon as we can. And obviously, if there's something closer, if Oceanside ever happens, I think maybe now they've shoveled like two shovelfuls of dirt or something. That'll be super awesome. That's about 10-15 minute drive. And I can see, like, I'd love to get something like a season pass there and yeah, just hop in, depending on the pricing, once a week or a couple times a month. And even though it's California, it's still a lot of times, unless you really want to drive, you're not going to be surfing anything head high or above for months. So it's rideable. But yeah, I mean, I'd love something that's a day trip or, even just a morning trip to get out and go. So I'm super excited for Palm Springs finally being open to the public, really, and also some of these other locations up and coming.
Okay, right on. And let's move over to Mike and the experiences you've had at different wave pools. I know there's some of them have been great. After each session, Mike, do you always walk away feeling like, yeah, that was worth it? Or do you ever walk away feeling like, no, that wasn't worth it?
The latter, if I'm being super candid. And part of that's just I have a lot of different experiences to benchmark off of now. Mm-hmm. So in earlier days when I had like 1 or 2 wave pools, it was Typhoon Lagoon, then Inland was my second wave pool in Austin before it disappeared. I was like, this is the best thing ever. But in hindsight, the experience was pretty basic and the waves weren't the best. So it's really, it really depends on more than a wave for me. And that's what I'm learning as I spend my hard-earned money to go to these different wave pools, travel to them and invest my money into a session, the rental equipment, the food on site, any ancillary activities like zip lining or the skate park at the rent a board and the pads and a helmet for, like all that creates the impression that I have when I walk away. But the single most important factor is how I feel I'm treated. Am I wanted there? Or am I just another session that they were able to sell? And it's varied across my experiences. So.
Okay. So let's touch on that. Your experience with the staff and with people who work at a park. without naming names, can you tell us what, like, an example of your best experience interacting with the staff, and then conversely your worst?
Sure. So there's not a single best, but I am going to reference a standing wave park in Switzerland. It was my first deep water standing wave, and I was nervous, and I was like, I really didn't care for standing waves, but never tried them. And then now I converted since, like, this makes sense. I know it's fine. And part of that was how welcoming the environment was, and the staff, because I was super intimidated. Like, I've never been on one of these. I know I've been surfing for a long time, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be good on this type of wave. And everyone from the person behind the bar to the person who checked me in, got my rental equipment, were super friendly, like trying to comfort me, including the people that were in that session were cheering you on, hooting and hollering, giving you tips. That really created the like, oh, you know what? I don't have to be intimidated. I don't have to feel self-conscious. Everyone in that session were ripping way better than me. And I walked away feel like, oh, this is cool. I want to do this more so I can get better at these deep water standing waves. And part of that reason was because that the environment they created, they didn't care who I was. I was a paying customer, and they treated me like they would anyone else. And I felt that all the way down to me breaking one of the fins on the rental boards, saying, oh, yeah, I felt bad, walk up. Oh, he's like, just come by later and give us 10 Swiss francs. I'm like, okay. And so I had to go out. I'll come back tomorrow. And he didn't care. Like, sure, they trusted me. I came. The girl's like, oh, okay, I'll give it to, so-and-so. Now the exact opposite also happened, like a different wave pool. Without naming names, like, I felt like I was after my session, saw a little thing on the rental board that I paid a premium for, by the way, including not to mention the session, the winter wetsuit gear. Like a little thing, I felt bad, of course, going to pay, but they like waited for me and walked me to the front reception to pay for the thing right after my session. I'm like, wow, I feel like I'm back at school and being at the principal's office. Like, I'm going to pay, happy to pay. Like, right after my session, like, I need a breather. So those things make a difference to me. And like, I guess I'd rather go to the pool where I feel welcome if I'm going to return.
Okay, great. And then, so I want to turn it over to Naradah and the experience at Waco Surf. I know that's gone through a lot of changes since Mike and Amy took it over, and it sounds like you've been ingrained in the community since day one. But have you noticed customer relations changes at Waco since in your time there?
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. To some extent, there has been some evolution as far as how the customer experience overall. So if you haven't been to Waco, I mean, there's tons of content on it. I know you got a lot of content on your website, wacoMag.com and YouTube. But basically, you get there, it's kind of a off the beaten path type of place. But once you go in, you check in, and you can see kind of like a full window view of the park. You walk out through the shop to the park, and you see everything. So that's just kind of an overview of what the flow is like when you walk through. I'm saying that to say that as soon as you walk through the door, you are welcomed by the staff. Essentially, you get the check-in and you see the assortment of rental boards and things like that. So just the layout alone kind of gives you an impression of an openness of what the park is like. And, the park is on a large ranch, basically. So that openness kind of carries over to the overall theme on, how they handle the customers in the pool. There's a welcoming atmosphere, the Southern hospitality there. It's always been there since Mike and Amy took over. It's even been enhanced a bit, I think. The staff, I think there are a lot of really good guys there in place, especially like the water patrol that help out. There has been a little bit of tension surrounding recent pricing. Like the way they do the pricing this year is a little bit different. Kind of adjusts based on demand a little bit more. Whereas in previous years, I mean, you would just log on and see that it's booked, but the pricing was a lot lower, a little bit more manageable.
Okay, so it wasn't dynamic pricing, but they shifted to a dynamic pricing model. Is that correct?
Yeah, a little bit more dynamic pricing model. But the overall improvements on the wave itself, the pool, like I said, they didn't have food and beverage at first. Now they've added that. So that customer experience has been enhanced. The selection of boards has changed over the years. And I think it's gotten better as they test out different boards from different providers that come there. So they've got an assortment of different, options there. And I think overall it's been a net improvement, even with, a slight upkick in the price.
Okay. Okay, cool. And then you're one of the few people I've met other than Dionysius who's been to Wadi Adventure. I want to hear about Wadi Adventure. Like, how is the surf hour? Do you have to rent out the whole pool? How does that work?
All right. So, I'll preface that as well. Back in the day, I actually got inspired to build my own pool. And so as a part of doing the research for that pool, I went out to Wadi Adventure because that was the only operating surf pool, in the world at the time outside of Big Surf in Arizona. And they had a model where you basically rent out the hour for surfing, and you could pay whatever I can't remember exactly how much it was, but it was probably around 75 or $80 per hour for those sessions. And you get about an hour to an hour and a half with the Murphy's Wave pool design. So it's kind of like the toilet bowl flushing design where they have the wall and the water uses gravity and pushes out and pushes a swell over the bathymetry of the pool and creates a wave there. So that experience was super fun. And at that park, kind of like what Mike was speaking to, they have a lot of ancillary activities. So they had, I think they had rock climbing at the time. They had a whitewater rafting. I didn't do that. I kind of focused on the surf piece. But they had an air park with scaffolding and zip lining and stuff like that. So it was an adventure attraction overall. And oh, go ahead.
So for your session, who were the other surfers involved? Were they like local surfers? Were they expats from Dubai City? What? So
in that session, I didn't rent out the hour like a private. It's just kind of like an hourly session like they have now. But in that session, there were people from all over the world. There were some guys from Brazil. There were some guys from, I think, Germany, South Africa, from Durban, and a couple of locals that were there as well. And on one of the sessions, it was actually on International Surfing Day that I got a chance to do it. And we made an attempt. I'm not sure if we actually are in the books or not, but we made an attempt for the world record of the number of surfers in a wave pool, like on a wave. So that was pretty fun. But again, just everybody that was working in the staff there was, again, very welcoming, very inviting. There was a lot of encouragement in the water and just, outside of the water. I really liked the safety protocols they had in place as well, because I know that's a huge important part of, any water attraction, of course. And then just the design of the place, how you check in, the different types of lockers they had. All those things, those little details kind of mattered at that time. This was back in 2013, I believe. But that was an overall great experience as well.
Okay, cool. And then going into the more back in the day novelty thread of this conversation, Sunshine, you got to surf Typhoon Lagoon when it was not really open or known, when it was still like super novelty. I think you went there with the U.S. surf team or something. Can you share that story with us and your experience?
Yeah. That was, I believe it was 2000. So Mike probably knows better what else might have been open at that time, but I think it was one of maybe 3 in the world or something. And yeah, they invited us. It was the U.S. amateur surf team. So they invited us. I think we had 2 or 3 hours one night to come down again after, the park had closed for the day. It was winter time, I think January or February. and a nor'easter was coming through. So even though the pool was nice and warm, we were all wearing wetsuits because we were all standing up, waiting for our turn to jump in. But it was freezing and the rain was just coming down sideways on us. But it was still just like this fun, almost party experience as they have set up there where they're like blasting music. And I mean, you can see if there was a smaller group, I mean, it was the whole team. So you had to sit there and I think probably wait 10, 15 minutes for your turn. But yeah, you could like catch the wave, like almost like run around, do a little cardio session, jump back in, had to pin a smaller group. And yeah, it's, just great.
So what?
Almost like a Disney experience, right? All that fun.
Yeah. I have to ask you, having like everyone, they hear about wave pools and like, it's great, waves, in a contained environment, surf at the push of a button. What was your visceral reaction to the wave itself when you first jumped into Typhoon Lagoon? Was it positive or was it a big letdown? What did you feel?
Yeah, it was just kind of weird, to be honest, because like you're sitting there and you're staring at the wall and you're like, huh? Because you're used to staring at horizon, and then like you hear this thump and then you turn and you start paddling. But it's very hard to gauge how fast to paddle or not. And on one of my first waves, it broke on my back, misjudged it. And this was one of the ones where there's either like you hang out on the left, the right, or the middle. And I was there. And then like I'm getting tossed around under the water, like just thinking like, don't hit the wall, because I was like right next to it. So it's just kind of weird at first because you're like, how do I know where to sit and when to start paddling and how fast to paddle? And then at that point, like, the wave itself, it was fun. It was kind of soft. It seems like maybe it's different nowadays. Mike can talk to it, but the split peak in the middle actually seemed to have a little bit more push to it. Like you'd have that drop where it gets more speed and a good first turn. The right and the left seemed a little softer, but the kids in our group, I mean, the juniors were busting airs on the inside. So, obviously there was some juice to it. But yeah, it was a fun wave. But yeah, I think like anything, the stress of the wave pool, like you really don't want to biff it because, man, and then that too, because like if you biffed it, then everyone's sitting on the side. This was the team, right? They're going to not let you live that down. So, you missed the wave. Like, and it's not like at Cali's where people are actually like excited if you miss it because then they can hop on and poach the wave. I mean, it's like, it's a wasted wave and you're going to hear about it.
Okay, right on. Let's turn it over to Mike. I'd like to hear about waves themselves. You surfed. What technologies have you surfed in?
Sure. So far, the Murphy's waves. I don't know. It's debatable what you count Typhoon Lagoon as. Is it Murphy's waves, whitewater? I'm not sure.
Everyone has a claim on that one.
Whatever that technology is was the first for me. Followed by their Generation 1 Wave Garden Cove, the Wave Garden Lagoon, because that would be Inland and Snowdonia. The newer generation, Wave Garden Cove at the Wave and at Elia Bay. I did some city waves, some unit surf pools, American wave machines, their perfect swell technology. Some real novel technologies that, again, I don't know the name of, would be Kobe Reyes, West Edmonton Mall, the indoor wave pool at the Super Mega Mall in Canada. So a good mix, and that is another part of the goal, is to try these different wave technologies out and understand how they're commercialized, because each technology I notice is a bit different. And I'm able to get, for example, more lefts if I go to a wave garden, because I could choose an all left session versus a perfect swell pool. I'm limited. I have to do just the half rights, half lefts. So there's definitely advantages, disadvantages to some of these wave technologies.
All right. Well, share with us your happy place for a wave pool session. You can name names. What wave pool has it been, and where? What session did you book? What setting? And share that with us.
Sure. To date, and this could change. I have 18 wave pools. I am going to check off 19 and 20 next week. So I'm excited for that. But to date, one of my fondest experiences is at the Wave in Bristol, because it wasn't even supposed to be the trip. I was supposed to fly to Switzerland, but the wave pool closed 6 days before I had everything planned and flying out, but cancel last minute. I was like, well, I have the time off. I still want to check off a different wave pool. So I ended up going to the UK instead. And I checked off Snowdonia and the wave in Bristol. And I was there for 1 day at the wave in Bristol. So 3 sessions, one of which is probably my favorite session ever. It was 1 hour of barrels.
The barrel setting is amazing.
I had no expectations because of the last minute trip. That was my first Wave Garden Cove experience. Like, I was super intimidated. All the local surfers that were in that session, like, don't worry about it. Like, we're all in the same situation. You'll get the hang of it. And I did eat it a bunch of times to begin with. And then I got a couple little barrels, little covers that just made that visit all time for me. So the waves, and then the staff was friendly. At the time, they didn't have a huge rental quiver. I didn't bring my own boards. It wasn't practical. So I was a bit stressed when it came to that, but they were super friendly. They're like, well, the boards that we do, bad 3 hard boards at the time are beat up, or like, they were super nice. Like, we feel about charging you for that. We're not going to charge you for the board. They're on the board, just go use it. And I thought that, like, really considerate, because they weren't the best quality boards at the time. So I was able to ride, not using a 9-foot long foam board in the barrel session. I was actually able to successfully make some little covers. So did an intermediate session, and then what they called I think advanced turns. So just an hour of left, bigger size waves to practice turns on. If that coupled with having on-site photo and video, because that's huge for me. I enjoy posting about these experiences. That's rarely the case where they have an in-house photo and video team that they're taking photos by default. But I was able to ask. Like, I would also like to book a videographer for one of my sessions, and they helped make that all come true. So it's just like thinking back to, like, they made that visit amazing for 1 day, and I keep thinking, yeah, that's what I want to experience at all these other wave pools, just having everything I would possibly want in one place, and walk away thinking, yeah, like, stoked on those rides.
That's awesome. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And the Wave Bristol has won Mike's award. And Naradah, I know you're always at Waco. Do you have a favorite setting there, or a favorite way to do your sessions?
I have to say that the advanced wave, probably the lowers setting, is one of my favorites. It's just a rippable wave. It's super fun. It's probably about shoulder high on me, maybe shoulder close to high on me. I'm about 6'2", so I'm a little bit lankier than most surfers there. But yeah, that was super fun. They also have a competition wave that they use for some of the surf competitions they do, which is also pretty fun. It's a little bit steeper, a little bit more aggressive off the wall. But yeah, I think the lowers is probably my favorite though.
Is there anything any of you would like to say to wave pool operators, to surf park operators, that maybe they're getting right, or maybe they're missing with customers?
Good question. I think one of the things is availability. Of course, pricing should be manageable for the wave pools, for, across the board. I know that there's different corporate entities or different groups that might want to rent out private sessions. So maybe having a certain type of pricing for those groups. And then for your locals, just trying to maximize the number of surfers and the number of waves, and trying to find that right balance is key. Also, if they have packages that include the video and the photos, kind of like what Mike spoke to, Waco does a really good job of that, because Rob Henson, he's kind of like the staff photographer there. He's amazing, knows every angle to get, and gets some of the best photos I've ever seen in a wave pool. So they're already in place, and they have photo as an upcharge kind of, as well as the addition of flow state. So that is really good, but to have a cohesive package that includes all of those things, or maybe different package levels would be good. And go ahead and build one in Houston. I'm just gonna get straight to it, man. Let's get this thing built. I know that the guys are working on HTX Surf, and we're really looking forward to that. Like pretty much the whole surf community in the like Gulf Coast area, the Houston area, is really looking forward to it. And I know they have a few projects, and of other developers that are going on in other parts of Texas as well. So yeah, let's try to build as many into Texas.
Okay, so let's talk to Houston Surf, which Blake has a hand in, who worked at Inland, worked at Kelly Slater Surf Ranch and Lemoore. Is it the same model, or do you can buy an annual membership? Do you know how that works, and how would you like it to work?
I think they do have a membership model. I believe they released some founding memberships. I looked into it, but I haven't taken a deep dive like I normally would. But from at first glance, it seems a little bit on the premium side for something that hasn't necessarily been developed yet. One advantage I think that Waco has over a lot of other wave pools is when they launched, they knew that it wasn't a proven concept. So the initial pricing for the season pass was pretty low. However, it was also limited. So you had to be kind of first on it. And as that first year went on, the attraction of the wave pool was recognized, and people recognized the benefits and all the features of the pool. That's when they started to say, this is a pretty cool concept. I want to spend some money here. I want to learn more about it. And it drew even more attraction. So that's when the real value of that season pass was really exposed, not necessarily at the beginning, but throughout the development of that pool. So I think HTX Surf could probably take a similar approach and kind of have like a certain amount of, maybe they choose some ambassadors or something, or they have like a certain set number of memberships that they sell at a certain price point to get that initial push, have that group invited to open the pool and do some wave testing. And then from there, they can kind of base it and say, this is the actual value of our pool. This is the type of brand that we're looking to bring to you, this type of experience. And it's been validated by this group of surfers. So I think that will be key. And especially being that locals will probably be the bulk of the participants. Now in Houston, we do have 2 international airports. We have a ton of traffic. I mean, the research is out there on all that stuff. There's over almost 6 million people that live in the greater Houston area. So huge opportunity, but at the same time, that has to be qualified to some extent. So starting with the locals, starting with your regulars that are going to be there, and then the neighboring regulars. Like I'm from Houston, but I go to Waco a lot. There's a lot of people from Dallas that are locals. Shout out to all the locals from Dallas. So starting with the locals, I think that will make a big impact and kind of solidify the future of those pools.
Okay, right on. That's it's coming along, and they're making progress. So hopefully we'll be able to surf that soon. And Sunshine, let's talk to you in Southern California. There are a few projects. Palm Springs just reopened. Desert Surf is coming online the year after. Oceanside is maybe, we don't know. They're kind of quiet about that. From where you live, what would be your ideal situation, and what project are you excited about?
Yeah, I'd say I'd probably Oceanside, just because that's the closest for me. Like it's a 10-15 minute drive, so it's something I could theoretically just do at the drop of a hat. Whereas anything in Palm Springs, it's going to be a 2-3 hour drive. I'm going to have to plan that a little bit more. So just for strictly laziness with deciding, hey, I want to go get some waves today, that would be it. And I think, back to what Mike said early on, it's really about how they treat you. and the fact how do they treat the everyday surfers, and how do they approach that too? From, because like, yeah, you can watch these clips of like Mason Ho like busting some insane airs at Waco, but you're like, can I do that? Like, what's like the real world experience with these waves? So it's nice to have that, going back to, hey, what's, and how are they going to treat me as a paying customer? Are they going to be like, oh, just another like in out because, oh, I'm not the pro that's here with the camera crew getting all the shots, but are they going to care? And so I think for me, it's kind of there's the convenience factor of where it is, but then there's also the how they treat you. So those are the two biggest things. I think I'd be, obviously, in addition to the waves and having some fun waves, I'm going to assume that that's a given though. So.
Okay, right on. Thank you for that. And Mike, you're in Florida. I think Florida has the most proposed waves that have been put on the table, taken off the table. Is that like nail biting for you? What are you hoping for in your backyard?
I think I've learned to calm myself down over the last 5-6 years in terms of getting overly excited for the exact reason you just mentioned. I mean, in my head, the ideal scenario is all these proposed projects come to fruition, and as it stands, there's like a mix of different wave technologies. So we were supposed to get a perfect swell wave pool 15 minutes down the road. The next day is down from where I live. And I went to the ribbon cutting. I think it's been 2 years now. And the last I checked, I hate to say, like, they had a perfect swell sign, street sign. It's gone. This is the plot of land. And so according to the ribbon cutting, it should have been up and running by now. So I'm not sure that's going to come to life, but I'm not certain either. There's Wave Garden that's supposed to be put in Fort Pierce. I know there's a surf lakes that's proposed for Tampa that are really covering a large portion of Florida and different metropolitan areas. That's like, sounds like surf heaven to me. Today I want to go try out Wave Garden, or today I want to drive across 3 hours and hit up the surf lake. What will actually come to life, we'll see. And then I would like to see endless surf, because I see a lot of media out there right now. They just launched in Munich. I myself can't wait to try that, but if they can throw one of those into the mix of Florida, a pool, that'd be great as well. So you just cover all the bases, and then that's just for traditional wave pools. You also have your standing waves. But I heard some rumors, but if we could get, those are a little more practical, smaller footprint, just throw a unit wave pool somewhere, or a city wave, so we can, when there's a flat spell, we can go get some repetitions in. That'd be cool.
Okay, right on. Well, I want to thank everyone for taking time out of your morning, middle of the day, evening, and sharing your experiences. Is there something in our discussion that we didn't touch on that you'd like to bring up now? Any questions or comments?
Actually, I have one for Mike. I think, Mike, I saw on your Instagram one time when you did a analysis of what each wave pool costs, like per wave. And so what's been your greatest ROI? What wave pool, the cost with the quality of the wave?
That's an interesting question. It's going to obviously be the standing waves, because you can just get a lot more rides in. Okay. With exception to one I haven't calculated yet, and that's my most recent. Like I said, next week I'm checking off 19 and 20, but number 18 was West Edmonton Mall in Canada, and those were the shortest and smallest waves I ever surfed. But there was so many of them, because they can't manipulate the set. There's like one after another, and they are proud of how many rides you get in an hour and a half, or how low it costs. And I'm pretty sure it is the case, but like I said, I haven't validated yet. I haven't done the math on that one. And that you would technically get the highest ROI, because you get a lot of rides. Granted, they're very short and very small, but technically that'd be the best. And I mean, obviously, without question, the surf branch is probably the most expensive half a wave I've ever ridden in my life, and probably ever will be. So,
yeah, because I think I saw like your when you missed a wave, like how expensive that was. It's just like, oh,
yep.
Painful.
Yep.
Hey, Brian, is there time for one more note, or
sure,
an additional note? Because I know you asked about what we wish surf park operators would know. I think it's kind of similar to what Sunshine already explained, but to me, I really hope that a surf park operator takes time to value and understand the paying customer's experience, because it could vary so greatly aside from the technology, which is, you know what you're getting when you're investing in a wave garden or a perfect swell pool. But what did that paying customer just walk out? What was their impression? You think they're going to come back? Are you confident that you did everything you could to make sure they'll come back, despite the cost? Because we all know it's expensive, and that's all going to change when more pools come to fruition and there's competition. So.
Right. And in my conversations with operators, it's, they're very attuned to the customer experience, like Urban Surf in Sydney. Jen, who just took over as CEO there, she had all the employees wearing name badges, and they've made an extra point to go and engage more with clients. Granted, it's Australia, so it's, a little more core surf demographic. So there's, a lot of tradies in for the hour and then out. But from what I've heard, they do value that, because if you don't have a good experience and there's another wave pool down the street, you're not going to come back. So,
absolutely. Oh, can I layer something on top of that?
Yeah, go for it.
Leveraging the network and the power of community, I think, is also very important. One of the things about Waco Surf that makes it so great for all the people that have been going for a long time is the sense of community that's there. We rally around each other, we cheer each other on. There's a lot of positive attitudes in the water and outside of the water, and that builds on that network and community. Some of the communities that I'm involved with, for instance, we have like a local group of surfers. Shout out to all my homies that surf with me at Surfside Beach, Texas. We have a little group. We go on trips together and things like that. We'd be great candidates to come to the pool. I've introduced several people to the pool and just kind of encouraged them to do sessions, even done YouTube videos on, how to surf the intermediate wave. Shout out to Black Dot Surfers. That's another community. It's an online community of Black surfers. And I'm trying to put together something for all of us to kind of get some exposure to the pool as well. So leveraging these different networks and communities can also build that experience and layer that customer experience, because it's not just about that one individual surfer at that time. It's about, the group and that group experience and that setting. So that can also make things a lot better as well. So. Yeah,
that's a really good point, because there's so much, focus on the bottom line. On the bottom line, you build this incredibly expensive thing, and then you have to make it, pay for itself and have people coming back. And on the periphery, particularly what, Waveful Mag is really interested in is the surf scenes that build up around these pools that you're all experiencing in your own context and different locations. And surfing's a really powerful thing. So I think we're all seeing that. So thank you so much, everyone, for taking time out and joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.